Marco Reyes, a name whispered with reverence in aviation circles, navigated the bustling American airport with the quiet confidence of a seasoned professional. A rising star, his skills unmatched, his career trajectory meteoric. But the serenity was shattered in an instant. As he approached the immigration counter, two burly figures emerged from the shadows. Their faces hardened, eyes narrowed in suspicion. "You! Show me your ID. And don't give me any lip," one officer barked, snatching Marco's pilot's license with disdain. "Pilot? More like pig." "Flying pigs, that's what you are," the other scoffed. Marco, startled but maintaining his composure, presented his license. "Officers, I believe there's been a misunderstanding," he said calmly. But his words were met with derision. "You think you're too good for us, huh? You think you're above the law," the first officer snarled, shoving Marco roughly. The humiliation continued. They accused him of forgery, of trafficking, of God knows what. They dragged him into a small, dimly lit room, the air thick with the stench of stale sweat and cheap cologne. Marco felt a wave of dizziness, the world tilting precariously on its axis. "I am a law-abiding citizen," Marco said quietly. "I have done nothing wrong." But his pleas fell on deaf ears. "Respect? For what?" "For being a disgrace to this country," the second officer sneered, leaning in close. "You're lucky we're not taking you down to the cells. You'd disappear, and no one would ever find you." Marco's heart pounded against his ribs like a trapped bird. He felt a cold dread creeping into his bones. Was this how it was going to end? Would he be another statistic, another victim of police brutality in a country that was supposed to be a beacon of freedom? He subtly reached for his phone, hoping to discreetly dial a number that could save him. But before he could even touch the device, the first officer snatched it from his pocket and smashed it against the wall. Marco felt a surge of despair. He was completely alone. As the hours crawled by, Marco's hope dwindled. He was trapped, a caged bird, his freedom snatched away by the very people who were sworn to uphold it. He thought of his family, his friends, his dreams, all slipping away like grains of sand through his fingers. He closed his eyes, trying to remain calm, to focus on his breathing. He had to stay strong. He had to survive this ordeal. But as the darkness deepened, a chilling thought crept into his mind. Would he ever see the light of day again? The air in the small, windowless room grew thick with tension. Marco, his body aching, his spirit crushed, tried to remain calm, to project an aura of unwavering dignity. He knew his freedom, his reputation, his entire life hung in the balance. He remembered a story his grandfather used to tell him about a legendary Filipino warrior who faced insurmountable odds with unwavering courage. Drawing strength from that memory, Marco decided to fight back, not with fists, but with his intellect, with his unwavering belief in justice. He began to speak, his voice firm yet measured. "Officers, I understand your concerns, but I demand to see a supervisor. I demand to be treated with respect. I am a citizen of this country, a taxpayer, a contributor to this society. I have a right to due process." The officers scoffed, but Marco persisted. He reminded them of their oath to uphold the law, to protect and serve all citizens, regardless of race or ethnicity. He spoke of the principles of justice, of equality, of the very foundation upon which this nation was built. His words seemed to pierce through the officers' hardened exteriors. A flicker of doubt, a hint of unease, crossed their faces. They exchanged uneasy glances, their bravado beginning to crumble. Suddenly, one of the officers pulled out his phone, his fingers trembling as he typed a name into the search bar. A moment later, his eyes widened in disbelief. He looked at Marco, his face a mixture of shock and shame. "Sir," he stammered, his voice barely a whisper, I believe I made a mistake." The other officer, sensing the shift in his partner's demeanor, quickly checked his own device. His face mirrored the same expression of disbelief. "Sir," he said, his voice barely above a murmur, I apologize. I didn't know." Marco, sensing the change in their demeanor, remained silent, his eyes fixed on the officers. He knew this was his moment, the moment to assert his dignity, to reclaim his honor. The officers, their arrogance replaced by a newfound respect, stammered out an apology, their words laced with genuine remorse. They explained that they had received a faulty intelligence report, a case of mistaken identity. Marco, though still shaken, accepted their apology. He knew that forgiveness was the ultimate act of strength. But he also knew that this incident would leave a lasting scar. As he walked out of the room, his head held high, he vowed to use his experience to fight against injustice, to ensure that no other innocent person would ever have to endure such a harrowing ordeal. The incident at the airport had changed him forever. He had faced his demons, emerged stronger, and emerged as a symbol of resilience, a beacon of hope for all those who dared to challenge the forces of prejudice and discrimination.